In My Hero Ultra Rumble, every character falls into one of 5 distinct roles, each designed around a different playstyle and purpose on the team. The most versatile role in the game is the technical role. Technical characters specialize in having a wide variety of utility in their kit, with each of their abilities serving a different use case. This ensures they have tools for nearly every situation. However, while all technical characters share that core identity, they're far from equal. Some consistently provide strong value through their utility and control, while others struggle to make the same impact despite having flexible kits. My name's Yestermorn, and in this video I'm ranking every technical character in My Hero Ultra Rumble from worst to best based on their effectiveness in real matches. If you enjoy these kinds of rankings, consider liking the video or subscribing. The support genuinely means a lot. With that out of the way, let's get straight into the list. In last place at number 11, I have Dabi. In my opinion, Tech Dabi gets a bad reputation and isn't quite as terrible as people make him out to be, but even with that said, he's still in the bottom tier of the roster. Tech Dabi is a character that demands a lot of patience, planning, and game sense to get value out of. His alpha is easily one of the weakest in the game. It's slow and doesn't deal good damage. While his gamma can be very useful defensively, it's not something you can rely on for consistent damage. Because of this, almost all of Dabi's damage has to come from his traps. That's what makes him so difficult to play effectively. You're constantly forced to think ahead and try to funnel enemies into areas you've already set up. Skilled players can make this work in the right situations, but the moment Dabi is dragged out into the open, his options become extremely limited. His gamma can block incoming projectiles and buy him some time, but once it's gone, he's incredibly vulnerable. On top of that, his special action is one of the weakest in the game and rarely provides meaningful value. When you put it all together, Tech Dabi just has too many weaknesses and too many hoops to jump through compared to the rest of the technical roster, which is why he ends up at the bottom of the list. At number 10, we have Nejire Hado. Almost everything about Nejire is solid. She has good damage, strong mobility, and a set of abilities that, while similar in function, serve very different purposes. Her biggest issue, however, is her vulnerability. Nejire is what I'd call the quintessential flying character in Ultra Rumble. She can stay airborne for a very long time and clearly wants to control fights from above. The problem is how easy she is to shoot down. Her flight speed isn't that fast, which means ranged characters can track her without much difficulty and burst her down. With the recent addition of Lady Nagant, this weakness has become even more pronounced. Being airborne no longer feels safe when a single well-placed shot can punish you heavily. On top of that, Nejire only has 300 HP, which just isn't enough to withstand sustained range pressure. As a result, she often can't capitalize on her greatest strength without putting herself at serious risk. While Nejire performs well in many areas, this one flaw holds her back significantly. It prevents her from being a truly strong pick and leaves her sitting in an awkward spot where she's functional but ultimately mediocre compared to the rest of the technical roster. Coming in at number 9, we have Shoto Todoroki. When I think of Tech Shoto, one word comes to mind: mid. He's not terrible by any means, but his lack of mobility holds him back significantly. Unlike many other stationary characters though, he's still able to defend himself fairly well. Tech Shoto has solid defensive tools. His ice wall can create reliable cover, and his gamma does a good job of blocking incoming projectiles. That said, these options aren't always enough, especially in the late game where mobility and repositioning become much more important. Once the safe zone starts shrinking, Shoto can struggle to keep up. Where Tech Shoto truly shines is in area control, particularly when holding down a building. In that scenario, he might actually be the best character in the entire game. Every one of his abilities is designed to deny entry into a room, forcing enemies to either back off or take damage. His ice wall explosion is the perfect finishing touch, punishing anyone who tries to push through carelessly. Overall, Tech Shoto is a fairly straightforward character. He doesn't have much flexibility, but if your goal is to lock down an area and make a building nearly impossible to contest, there are a few characters that do it better than him. Next at number 8 is Denki Kaminari. For me, Tech Denki and Tech Shoto sit at a similar level, but Denki edges him out slightly thanks to his versatility. His homing attacks make him effective at longer ranges, his traps allow him to deny space and control areas, and unlike Shoto, he actually has access to movement. That said, Tech Denki's biggest weakness is his damage output. Compared to his strike variant, his damage can feel underwhelming, and his kit leans much more toward poking and whittling enemies down rather than securing quick KOs. Because of this, he can struggle to defend himself if he gets caught out of position or pressured by multiple enemies at once. Tech Denki is definitely at his best when playing alongside his team, supporting from mid-range and controlling space rather than taking isolated fights. He's a decent flexible character, but his lower damage ceiling keeps him from climbing any higher on the list. From this point onward, every character on the list is genuinely strong. Sitting at number 7 is All For One. While I personally don't play him very often, there's no denying that he's a solid and highly versatile pick. All For One lacks traditional movement abilities, but he makes up for it by warping enemies away from himself. While this isn't a perfect substitute for mobility, it does give him a reliable way to create space and protect himself when pressured. On top of that, his other abilities deal very respectable damage and are effective in a variety of situations. Of course, what truly sets All For One apart is his ability to steal other characters' quirks. This gives him access to tools he normally wouldn't have, including mobility options, and allows him to adapt to whatever the match demands. Because of this, All For One becomes stronger as the match goes on, especially as the safe zone shrinks and fights become more chaotic. Overall, he's a powerful and flexible character with a high ceiling, but compared to the characters higher on the list, he just falls short in terms of impact. Coming in at number 6 is Naito Monoma. Since his release, Monoma has gone through a lot of balance changes, with the most crippling one being the reduction of damage to copied abilities. After that nerf, he slowly faded out of the spotlight and hasn't been nearly as dominant as he once was. However, Monoma recently received an HP buff going from 250 to 300. While that might not sound like a huge change, it's actually massive for him. With this extra survivability, Monoma is far less fragile and harder to shut down. Monoma is also arguably the most versatile character in the entire game. Being able to constantly swap between copied quirks gives him an answer to almost every situation. Even before copying any abilities, his base kit is solid. His default Gamma already gives him a strong defensive option, and when combined with his increased HP, he becomes surprisingly difficult to eliminate. On top of that, Monoma can gain access to some of the best movement abilities in the game just by copying the right character, pushing his survivability even further. In the right hands, he's an incredibly strong and adaptable pick. Ultimately, Monoma earns his spot at number 6 because while he's powerful and extremely flexible, the top 5 technical characters simply offer more consistent impact without requiring the same level of setup. Number 5 is Himiko Toga. Tech Toga has always been a decent option, but the recent change to her beta has pushed her to a completely different level. It's honestly surprising how much impact a simple increase to her beta's dash range has had, but it's made her feel far more fluid, aggressive, and dangerous. Like most technical characters, Tech Toga thrives on versatility. Her ability to transform after collecting blood already gives her massive flexibility, but this mechanic works especially well on her technical variant compared to Rapid Toga. The biggest reason for this is her health pool. Tech Toga has 350 HP, and she retains that HP when transforming. That means you can effectively play characters like Rapid Mirio or Suyu with 350 health, which is incredibly strong and very hard to deal with. Even outside of transformations, Toga's base kit is no joke. Her alpha hits extremely hard, her mobility is now much more reliable thanks to the beta buff, and she always has the option to pivot her playstyle mid-fight depending on whose blood she has available. I still don't think the community has fully caught on to just how strong Tech Toga is right now. Between her damage, mobility, and transformation potential, she brings an absurd amount of value to a team. All of that easily earns her the number 5 spot on this list. At number 4 we have Mirio Togata. Tech Mirio has been strong ever since his release in Season 12, and a big reason for that is how absurdly hard he is to hit. Thanks to permeation, both his alpha and beta make him untouchable while they're active, and his gamma counter heavily punishes anyone who tries to attack him. What really pushes Tech Mirio over the edge though is his health pool. He has 300 HP, which is a huge contrast to Rapid Mirio's 225. That lower HP on Rapid Mirio makes sense. If you're nearly impossible to hit, you should be fragile when you are vulnerable. Tech Mirio just isn't. With permeation giving him constant invulnerability windows and a respectable amount of health on top of that, Tech Mirio can be incredibly difficult to take down. Outside of his counter, his damage isn't anything special, but that almost doesn't matter. KOing him is often not even a possibility. In my opinion, Tech Mirio is unfair by design. His survivability far outweighs his weaknesses, and unless his HP gets adjusted, he's always going to feel frustrating to fight. That combination of invulnerability and bulk is why he takes the number 4 spot on this list. The number 3 spot belongs to Shota Aizawa. While he isn't as flashy as some of the other characters on this list, he is still insanely strong. In one-on-one fights, Aizawa is unmatched. His ability to erase quirks and restrain opponents with his binding claws makes it incredibly difficult to beat a skilled Aizawa player in a straight duel. On top of that, he has excellent mobility. His alpha and beta flow extremely well together, allowing him to weave in and out of fights. This mobility gives him strong control over engagements and lets him dictate the pace of a fight. Aizawa's biggest weakness is dealing with multiple enemies at once. His kit is clearly designed for isolating targets, not chaotic teamfights. However, thanks to his movement options, he can usually disengage and reset when things start to go south. Even though he's an older character and doesn't get talked about as much as the newer releases, Aizawa has aged incredibly well. In Season 14, he's still fully capable of keeping up with the strongest characters in the game, which easily earns him the number 3 spot. Taking second place is Tomura Shigaraki, which probably doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. Tech Shigaraki introduced an entirely new playstyle to Ultra Rumble, giving players the ability to track enemies through walls and attack them from safety. That alone is really strong, but it's far from the only thing he brings to the table. On top of his search ability, Tech Shigaraki has solid mobility through his beta and special action, allowing him to reposition and escape when needed. Where he really becomes oppressive though is his survivability. His super regeneration can drag out fights longer than they have any right to, often making it feel like you're fighting an Elden Ring boss rather than another player. When paired with the right tuning, Shigaraki can feel nearly unkillable. His main weakness is that his attacks are relatively slow and telegraphed, which in theory makes them easy to dodge and punish. In practice though, that weakness doesn't matter much when he can afford to tank multiple mistakes without consequence. He doesn't need to win fights quickly, he just needs to outlast you. Tech Shigaraki is a character that warps how fights are played, and that alone earns him a spot this high on the list. He even made an appearance in my most hated characters video, which says a lot about how frustrating he can be to deal with in real matches. Finally, at number 1, the best technical character in Ultra Rumble right now is Armored All Might. Unlike every other character on the list, Armored All Might genuinely feels like he has no real weaknesses. Starting with his alpha, it can either freeze enemies or burn them for massive damage, giving him incredible control and burst right out of the gate. His beta is just absurd. It stuns enemies for multiple seconds, deals solid damage, and doubles as a mobility tool. His gamma drones home in on opponents, deal a surprising amount of free damage, and can even break combos, which is incredibly frustrating to play against. On top of all of that, his special action gives him some of the best movement in the entire game, both horizontally and vertically. He can chase or escape better than most rapids can, add in strong melee attacks and a massive 400 HP health pool, and it's easy to see why he dominates so many matches. The only possible weakness you could point to is his larger hitbox, but when you have 400 HP and multiple ways to control, stun, and escape fights, that weakness barely matters. In my honest opinion, Armored All Might isn't just the best technical character in the game, he's the best character overall, regardless of role. We will 100% see nerfs for him going into Season 15, but until that happens, Armored All Might stands comfortably at the top spot of the technical roster. And that's going to wrap up today's list. Ranking the technical role was honestly tougher than I expected. This role has some of the most versatile and unique characters in the entire game, and even the lower spots can still be very effective in the right hands. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with the rankings, or would you move someone higher or lower? I read all of them. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it or subscribing for more My Hero Ultra Rumble content. Thanks for watching, this has been Yestermorn, and I'll see you in the next one.